Welcome to Midcentury Living, your weekly nostalgia podcast about the best of technology and culture from the mid-20th century.
Welcome back to Midcentury Living, the show where we talk all about the best of the mid-20th century and how to add vintage vibes to your modern life. We're your hosts, Gonzalo.
And Jackie, thank you for joining us today. So today we're finally talking about Jell-o. If you'd like to skip ahead to the topic we're covering today, we have a timestamp in our notes, or you can check out our new chapter links on the episode. But first, Gonzalo, how was your week?
My week was great until yesterday afternoon.
Yeah? What
In
happened?
recording times. Listeners would remember that in June, before we went on a break, I hurt my back at the gym, doing nothing, like not even working out, just being old. And yesterday at the gym, it happened again. And I don't know what I did because I was fine during the set. And then it was when I went to the second set that I was like, oh, okay. So I promptly pretended to work out for a few more minutes because there were some of my students that were working out nearby. And I didn't want to look like the old guy leaving early. So, and then I went home and I iced and heated my back because I am old. And now I'm sitting in a block of ice. And by a block of ice, I mean a Yeti cooler pack because that's all I had. That was handy.
See, now that you've hurt your back twice, it's like officially an old person thing. Doing it once.
Shut up.
Is like an accident. Like that could happen to anybody. But now that you have like a history of hurting your back, I guess we are.
Listeners, please hold while I throw my ice pack at Jackie. Anyway, that was my week.
I like the part where you pretend to work out for another couple of minutes to save face too. That was my favorite part of the story, I think.
Oh man.
Well, I'm not old yet. My life update is really more a general society update because guess what? It's pumpkin season. It is pumpkin time. And it is, as listeners of the podcast know, this is about the time of year where I turn into a pumpkin, and I've spent my entire grocery budget already. It is the second weekend of September on pumpkin groceries from many places, and I'm not like done. I did get like all of my pantry staples, so like there's a couple things I buy every year, like the Kodiak pumpkin pancake and waffle mix, and I always stock up on the Trader Joe's autumn harvest pasta sauce so that I have enough to use for the year. The Thomas pumpkin English muffins are back, and I always buy 2 of those, one to throw in the freezer and one to eat immediately. The pumpkin ravioli from Trader Joe's. The pumpkin spice Cheerios, which apparently it takes me a full year to finish this box, but I already opened my new one, so...
But eat more pumpkin.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I just need to eat more cereal. It's just like such a... Because I'm not 5. I just like don't think about it. So it's like when I wake up, when I want breakfast, I usually want like hot breakfast. So it's just like hard for me to get excited for a bowl of cereal and yogurt. But I still don't want to not have it. It's like a safe security blanket of Cheerios.
Ooh, security blanket. We'll talk about that next episode.
But yeah, anyway, that's all that's happening in my life now is I'm just like hyper shopping. Like I'm just obsessedly. And that's the thing is when I went pumpkin shopping last weekend, it was cold and rainy and beautiful. I was like, oh, the weather caught up with my vibes. And now it's 90 degrees again, and I'm still going to be...
I know, I saw your post wearing a sweater.
I wore a sweater! I went shopping in my stupid big pumpkin sweater, and I was buying pumpkin groceries, and I must have looked like the biggest stereotype in the world, but I had this giant cheesy grin on my face, and I was just so happy, and then now it's hot again. So I did take out all of my, like, spooky things and some sweaters for the fall when I was excited about it being fall, but I'm glad I didn't pack away all my like summer stuff because apparently it's not.
When we had that cold front, I was like, ooh, I can take the top of the Jeep and it'd be great. And then the next day I was like, I'm glad I did not take the top of the Jeep.
Yeah, that was a short-lived cold front. But
yeah, but we'll get new ones.
But
you know what?
What?
You need cold to make Jell-o.
You sure do.
And I don't mean like outside cold. I mean like inside in a refrigerator.
Inside cold, like in a refrigerator. Yes, that is a great transition into today's episode. So, friends, today's episode is mainly about Jell-o, but it's also a little bit about Knox gelatin because their stories are kind of intertwined. especially in the early days. But I am getting ahead of myself. So, Gonzalo, why don't you get us started with Jell-O's early history?
Perfect. Yes, I will put on my history hat and talk a little bit about early history of Jell-O, starting with gelatin dishes, mainly desserts, which date back all the way to medieval Europe. From that period up until the mid-19th century, jellied dishes were food of the elite, served as elaborate centerpieces on the table of nobility. Why? Because making gelatin is very time-consuming. Back then, the process included rendering collagen from animal bones and then clarifying it, among other things. Gelatin indicated to dinner guests that you had a kitchen staff large enough to spare the hours it took to make a jelly dessert. And this remained the case in the American colonies. Gelatin was popularized in New York in the Victorian era with spectacular and complex jelly molds. And that was, of course, until the mid-19th century when instant gelatin is born. So the Industrial Revolution is beginning to transform the US economy. Railways and factory production both brought radical changes to American food systems. In 1845, a patent for powdered gelatin was obtained by industrialist Peter Cooper. Fun fact, he also built the first American steam-powered locomotive. So, pick a career, buddy.
Yeah, right.
Making
The
me
powdered
look
gelatin
bad.
must have just been a hobby he had on the side.
Oh, I'm tired of making locomotives, and I really want Jell-O, but it takes too long. I don't have time, so let's just create something. Not to make fun of Peter Cooper or anything, but
No,
anyway.
we're grateful for his contributions.
Yeah. Fast forward about 40 years or so until 1889, when Charles B. Knox invented the first household version of gelatin. The unflavored gelatin packets were originally marketed as a health food and medicine, so the company's growth was very slow. By 1897, though, Jell-O gelatin desserts are invented and trademarked. They were invented by a man named Pearl Bixby Waite, a cough syrup manufacturer, because every great food invention starts as medicine in the 1800s.
Yep.
Waite and his wife May created the product by adding strawberry, raspberry, orange, and lemon flavoring to granulated gelatin and sugar. Jell-O was created in Leroy, New York. Remember that location? We'll talk about it later. It'll be in a quiz. Waite sold the brand just 2 years later to the Genesee Pure Food Company for $450, which is about $17,000 in today's money.
Just popping in for a little future of the company. So in the 1920s, Genesee merged with Postum and Birdseye Frozen Foods to form General Foods, which could actually be its own episode. And in the 1990s, General Foods merged into Kraft Foods Inc., which is now Kraft Heinz, and that's where Jell-O remains today.
We've talked about Heinz before, haven't we? I feel like Kraft Heinz has come up before.
I feel like it has. But General Foods is actually pretty interesting, and they had their own cookbook lines and all that stuff. So that might actually be a fun, really nerdy food episode. But
yeah, let us know, guys.
But anyway, back to the history.
Yeah, back to the 20th century. The domestic science movement is happening at the turn of the 20th century as many women begin reimagining housework. Now, they're using the latest scientific advances like gas stoves, electric irons, and refrigeration, and adapting the domestic work they performed every day. The spirit of domestic reform embraced efficiency, cleanliness, and order. And instant gelatin definitely fits that bill. It was fast, at least compared to the traditional method of making gelatin. It was neat and tidy, because the Jell-O mold stays exactly where you put it on a plate without dripping anywhere. It was economical because a housewife could stretch her family's leftovers by encasing them in gelatin. Ew.
Yeah, but they're not wrong. You could do that.
Yeah.
It would take longer to eat.
Yeah, that's right. Since sugar was already included in the flavored mixes, housewives didn't have to tap into their household supply of sugar, which is something I never thought about, but it's true. Some significant moments in gelatin in the early 1900s include in 1902, where Jell-O sales really took off after the Genesee Pure Food Company began marketing Jell-O to housewives. They sent, quote, armies of salesmen into the field to hand out free Jell-O cookbooks. In 1904, Charles Knox promoted Knox gelatin at the World's Fair, and the year later, in 1905, the Perfection salad is invented. Now, this was made by Mrs. John Cook, who won third prize in a Knox-sponsored cooking contest with this recipe. And James Beard observed in the 1972 edition of James Beard's American Cookery that Mrs. Cook's victory had, quote, unleashed a demand for congealed salads that has grown alarmingly, particularly in the suburbs, end quote. Still probably the most popular molded vegetable salad today. In 1908, Charles Knox passed away unexpectedly, leaving his wife, Rose Knox, to take over the company. And Rose began to market the company towards housewives, marketing it as a weight loss aid and thrifty food additive.
So a little bit more on the perfection salad. It is something that comes up a lot in, at least in the vintage groups. Most of the recipes in here, I don't know how popular they are with the general public, but since I spend a lot of time on vintage food and vintage Facebook groups in general, there's a lot of Jell-o recipes that come up a lot, and perfection salad is certainly one of them. So I thought it'd be fun to go over. There's two versions of this recipe. Here's the original from 1905, which involves one envelope of Knox gelatin, cold water, vinegar, boiling water, salt, and then 1 cup of finely shredded cabbage, the juice of 1 lemon, half a cup of sugar, and 2 cups of celery cut in small pieces, and 1/4 can of sweet red peppers finely cut. Is it sweet? Is it savory? It's both. It's Jell-o. Then they updated the recipe through the years. So here's the version from 1962 from my Knox On Camera Recipes cookbook. They describe it as a classic molded vegetable salad that is as popular today as it was when it was developed at the turn of the century. So this again starts with an envelope of Knox unflavored gelatin. Then it's got sugar, salt, water, vinegar, lemon juice, shredded cabbage, celery, and pimento instead of red peppers. And the ratios are all kind of different. So they cut the sugar in half for the 62 version and also the vinegar in half. There's less celery and less peppers and less cabbage. Yeah, basically they use the same amount of gelatin but less of all the add-ins, which is interesting. So I'm guessing it's a little bit more mild.
I would guess it's more Jell-o-y.
More Jell-o-y and less sweet and less tangy.
Also, I'm glad that they cut the vinegar in half because vinegar to me is very strong flavor. So like half a cup of vinegar, which was in the original 1905 recipe, that's like a lot.
Because they used half a cup of vinegar and half a cup of sugar.
Well, maybe it balances it out.
But the 62 version has less of every... Yeah, I was going to say it has more salt, but nope, it has less salt too. Anyway. So
someone try it and let us know because I'm afraid to do it.
You know, people have made this. I didn't go back and find any posts of people making the perfection salad, but this is still like one of those, you want to make a wacky recipe, make this one. It's apparently not that bad. Let me know if you've tried it. What do you like? What you think?
Okay. So let's get back to the mid-century. A little bit before this last recipe. There was a small dip in popularity during World War I when sales of sugar and therefore Jell-o were rationed. But in the interwar period, so the 1920s and 30s, the popularity of gelatin salads soared. The Depression forced homemakers to stretch their ingredients as far as possible, and switching food with gelatin was great for this. Around 1929, the Knox gelatin leaned further into advertising their product as one that can help stretch food and utilize leftovers. The Knox company actually continued to grow and open new plants during this time. And fun fact, Rose Knox was determined not to lay off any of her loyal employees, even when money was tight. Which is good for you as a leader.
Yeah, that's nice.
Or for her. In the early 1930s, lime-flavored Jell-o was released and gave the brand a major boost. Entire cookbooks were devoted to lime Jell-o, which gave the salad trend a major boost as well.
And fun fact, this is actually when the add a tablespoon of vinegar to cut the sweetness when using flavored Jell-o and savory salads tip came about. Was after they introduced lime Jell-o.
Interesting. By the 40s, mandatory rationing went into effect again for World War II. Knox began to release books leaning into patriotism and promoting their product as one that can help with wartime meal planning, with titles such as Don't Let Butter Rationing Scare You, Stretch Your Butter Twice as Far with Knox Gelatin Spread, and How to Be Easy on Your Ration Card. Conserving food is one vitally important way that we homemakers can help in the fight for victory. And also, meatless main dishes and leftover hints, which I have thoughts on.
I mean, that sounds like a rationing recipe book to me.
Yeah. Anyway, Jell-o salads continued to be popular during the war. Jell-o salads were dainty and refined, but also affordable. So according to a wartime pamphlet, Jell-o salads were a way to, quote, prove to you and your friends that you can still do luscious entertaining in spite of shortages and rations, end quote.
So now we're in the mid-century. After the war, corporations that had begun producing instant and processed food products to feed the troops were in no rush to slow production. I believe we've talked about this before. A lot of the reason why processed foods in general were so popular in the 50s is because all of these companies just didn't want to slow down production after the war. And so they
Yeah, they've
really,
been
really
doing
pushed.
this for a few years because of the war, and they're like, well, this is great.
Mhm.
It's cheaper for us, and people are somewhat used to it.
So, in order to just keep selling their processed foods, companies really began pushing the time saver angle. So, it was basically they were saying that busy wives caught up with children and housework could whip up dinner in a jiffy. The problem was, now that things were getting back to normal, wives didn't want to just whip up jiffy dinners anymore. There was actually a study in 1950 that measured housewives' feelings about convenience foods. They asked housewives to compare a wife who bought Nescafe instant coffee and one who brewed Maxwell House. The participants overwhelmingly rated the woman who used instant coffee as lazy, disorganized, and a bad wife.
Interesting.
So, even though there were all these convenient foods around, they still thought it was lazy to use them overall.
Which is funny because when you watch like Mad Men and other TV shows that are set in the mid-century, I feel like they're always using more of like the instant Nescafe or like in Bewitched and those and commercials. I guess commercials are biased towards the instant stuff, but you always see them using that. Although you also see a lot of Maxwell House as far as coffee is concerned. So maybe I'm wrong.
There is a moment later where, in a later episode of Mad Men, I can't remember the context now, where like Dawn's asking Betty, yeah, she needs to suddenly make more dinner than she had planned, and I won't tell you why, but he's like, "That you can't make it work. What do you have in that freezer I bought you?" And she's like, "Frozen food." Like, she says it in a way that says basically like that food is not suitable for guests. Like, what are you talking about? There's frozen food in there. So I think that really like that bias was around. But alas, just like you said, the commercials are biased. Convenient foods were definitely there to stay. So housewives had to resolve this conflict within them by just putting the work back into the process. So instead of cooking from scratch, they used prepared foods, but then they doctored them up with additional ingredients and dramatic presentations. The magic, you see, was in the presentation. Vegetables shaped into roses, mayonnaise dyed with food coloring, molded fish shaped salads with olives for eyes. And the
That's why they
dramatic
do all that?
presentations are honestly the main reason I love mid-century cooking so much.
Interesting. I didn't realize that's why. That's cool though. I like having reasons for things.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, so gelatin-based dishes were a staple of the semi-homemade genre, especially since shaped molds allowed for elaborate presentations. You could showcase ingredients in clear gelatin or fold cream or mayo into it for an opaque appearance. Cooks relied on mix-ins that either float or sink to achieve their desired effect. So fruits that float, just in case everyone's taking notes at home. Fresh fruits such as apples, bananas, orange, and grapefruit sections, sliced peaches and pears, strawberries, and fruits packed in syrup all float in a Jell-o mold. And
Hmm.
fruits that sink are seedless grapes, fruits in heavy syrup such as apricots, cherries, fruit cocktail, peaches, pears, and pineapple. An important note about pineapple is that you have to use canned pineapple in Jell-o or your mold won't set. Something about the enzymes on fresh pineapple will just not, the gelatin won't solidify.
Hmm. Kind of makes you wonder what's in canned pineapple. Does it take the enzymes away? Something
I think
happens
it's just the
chemically?
heat, like because it's basically cooked in there.
I know, but then you get to wonder what else is wrong with canned foods.
Wrong or right? Because now I can put it in Jell-o.
I guess so.
Anyway, savory Jell-o salads often involved frostings made with shrimp or mayonnaise to complete the look. And Jell-o even introduced savory flavors like celery, mixed vegetable, and Italian salad during the 1960s, but unfortunately, the savory Jell-o flavors declined in popularity by the 70s, and the line was discontinued. And I'm sad about this every day because I'd be a lot more okay with a vegetable Jell-o salad if it was like sitting in like a savory Jell-o. I think the reason my barrier to entry with a vegetable salad is like that you have to put it in a sweet Jell-o. But
I don't know. Because if you have a salad in a Jell-o mold and there's like a bit that doesn't have any of the stuff inside it and it's just the Jell-o, I would much rather have a bite of just unflavored Jell-O or like lime flavored Jell-O than Jell-O that's supposed to taste like celery.
Yeah, maybe.
But speaking of savory Jell-O, maybe we'll find some more in a little bit because we covered the perfection salad. But Jackie, what are some other popular Jell-O recipes from the mid-century?
Okay, so of course, for a food talk episode, we had to have a whole recipe section. I tried to find ones that weren't super gross, though, of course, we have some weird ones at the end. And all of these recipes are from my copy of The Joys of Jell-O from 1963, which includes, quote, lots of familiar old recipes and lots of new ones too, which is what they say in the copywriters for these cookbooks are really cute. Anyway, so we'll start off with some desserts, like we'll just ease our
Yeah.
way into it. So, one very popular Jell-O recipe is the basic Bavarian, which is endlessly versatile. Um, so it's one package of Jell-O gelatin, any fruit flavor, quarter cup of sugar, a cup of boiling water, 3/4 cups cold water or fruit juice, and then either an envelope of Dream whipped topping mix or 1 cup whipping cream or
Whipping
1 cup
cream?
whipping cream. And this basically makes like a creamy, opaque Jell-O that's really an easy way to dress up a package of Jell-O on its own, but it can be gussied up even more by adding fruit 4 cubes of gelatin or even layering 2 flavors. You can even pour it
Oh.
into a baked pie crust and serve it as a pie.
Ew.
What?
I don't know how I feel about that.
What? Oh man, you are not going to like the rest of this list if that grossed you out. Jeez, what a baby.
I was fine until you said put it on crust.
Why?
I don't know.
I guess you have to get over the like mixing textures thing. I think maybe that is the barrier to entry. I'm learning a lot about what the normies think of Jell-O salads today.
Yeah. But also, what are cubes of gelatin?
Right. So if you um, make Jell-O cubes from another box of Jell-O and then fold those into your basic Bavarian recipe, then you've come up with the most gorgeous of all Jell-O molds or desserts. It
Ooh,
is the crown jewel dessert, and it is spectacular. I've included
that looks
photos
really
for
nice.
Gonzalo to look at. I will post some on
Oh,
our
I kind of want to do
Instagram.
this tonight.
Isn't that so pretty? But anyway, since I'm clearly the one already excited about it, and since your reactions are so funny, I think it will be fun to hear you react to the ingredients in some of these recipes. So let's transition from desserts into two-way salads, which is actually a whole chapter in Joys of Jell-O on recipes that can be served either as a dessert or as a salad.
Nah, I don't know about this. But
So
okay,
here's a
let's.
popular one. Gonzalo, why don't you tell us about the frozen fruit salad?
Okay, it's quote an ever popular refreshing dessert or salad, which we've already started off on the wrong foot. Okay, so Jell-O, of course, mixed fruit, strawberry, lemon, or orange pineapple, salt, no, a cup of boiling water, pineapple tidbits, lemon juice, mayonnaise, whipping cream or sour cream, banana, seeded halved grapes, maraschino cherries, and chopped nuts. How is this a salad?
Right? And how is
This
it
is
dessert? It's neither. So that's what they mean is like when they say you could use it for either, they mean it's neither of them. It's neither a good dessert or a good salad.
this is more dessert than anything. Yeah,
Like if you
lemon.
use sour cream and mayonnaise instead of whipping cream and mayonnaise, I could see how this could lean savory.
Okay, but also mayonnaise is basically just eggs and oil, which you need in a cake.
Hmm.
So we're technically talking about a fruitcake here. This is enough ingredients to fill a small loaf pan. What's really interesting about it is that instead of letting this recipe chill in the fridge, you actually freeze it for 3 hours and serve it as slices or squares.
Man, we should have made this one a video episode so people could see your face.
No.
You look like that emoji with the really big frown. But what's really funny about that one is they put that in the two-way salad section, and we were like, is the sweet, is the savory? I don't know. The next two recipes are both in the salad section and definitely taste sweet when you're done. So I don't know. Who's to say? But this next recipe we've actually talked about on the podcast before, but it bears repeating because it rocks. We mentioned this in our St. Patrick's Day episode, the Under the Sea salad. So this is lime Jell-O, salt, boiling water, a can of pear halves, lemon juice, 2 packages of cream cheese, which back then packages were 3 ounces each. So you have to use a little bit less than 1 package of cream cheese in 2025, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of ginger. Just fun fact about the Mid-Century is that's how they season everything, with eighths of teaspoons of something. Like, you're going to taste that at all. Like, whatever. But anyway,
Rationing.
this salad, I've made it before. I made it for St. Patrick's Day. You actually reserve some of the Jell-O before mixing in the cream cheese, so you can make like the bottom layer of the mold, which becomes the top when you unmold, is clear, and then you mix in the
Mhm.
cream cheese and the pear chunks to the rest of the mix, and then after the top layer has set for a while, then you add in your creamy layer, and then you let them
Mm.
chill completely, and then it looks really pretty when you're done, and it tastes good because there is a quarter teaspoon of salt, but it doesn't make it like savory when you're done with it. Another popular Jell-O salad that's still sweet that I've made before is a sunset salad, and this is basically the flavor profile of a hummingbird cake, but without the cream cheese. So, Joys of Jell-O describes the sunset salad as an appealing, always popular mold of grated carrots and crushed pineapple. So this is a package of lemon or orange pineapple gelatin, salt, boiling water, crushed pineapple or pineapple tidbits, lemon juice, a cup of coarsely grated carrots, and a third cup of chopped pecans.
Hmm.
I actually made this to go along with my like flower themed like birthday luncheon spread when my family came to visit when I turned 35, and everyone who tried it liked it, but it tastes like carrot cake, like but Jell-O.
I seriously doubt that.
Okay, I'm making it next time. But anyway, everything we've covered so far is actually pretty palatable, so we should probably go out with some that are even weirder by today's standards. So, Gonzalo, why don't you read us the recipe for a basic vegetable salad mold?
Okay, great. My turn. The vegetable salad. Quote, your favorite vegetables can be used in this very versatile salad, which, you know what? That's not as scary sounding as I thought it was going to be. Package of Jell-O, lemon, lime, orange, or an orange pineapple flavors, some salt, boiling water, cold water, vinegar for some reason, grated onion, pepper, chopped cabbage, celery, green pepper, and a diced pimento. Yeah. Or you can use any vegetable combination listed below, or 1 to 2 cups of your favorites. You could use cauliflower florets and pimiento. You can use diced tomato and cucumber and celery, or grated carrots and chopped green pepper, or chopped cabbage with sliced stuffed olives and some parsley, or some thinly sliced radishes and chopped celery and onion rings. You can also replace some of the vegetables with diced cooked ham and Swiss cheese to make it more of like an entree salad. I'm so glad no one said like you should use chicken broth as the water.
Oh, that's so funny that you said that because maybe that's coming up.
No. Oh.
So you gotta give them this. This is a pretty looking Jell-O salad. I would never. I'm saying I would never eat it. That's not true, because I already broke into my Jell-O and vegetable rule when I made that sunset salad. I've never made one that's just straight up vegetables, no fruit like this before.
That's the problem though. All these molds and pictures of these recipes, they look pretty. They look very mid-century, but like I can see the appeal because the whole thing started because, you know, you can make your meal look fancy because of the molds and the presentation, and that's totally true. If you're trying to, you know, conserve your budget, but you're still having like a dinner party, like you put this on the table and it's like, wow, like our host or hostess like put time into this meal, and like look at this prettiness, that's not a word, look at this like pretty salad or pretty dessert or pretty entree with ham and Jell-O, and I don't know, people seem to like it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but let's go out with the recipe for your basic meat mousse salad.
Do you want to read this one too?
I'll read it.
Oh, good.
I'll read it. So, chicken mousse. Quote, a hearty, flavorful entree for hot summer days. And why cold chicken mousse on a hot summer day does not sound appealing at all? If this makes me gag, I'm hitting the stop record button. Or our producer is. Anyway, here's what's in the chicken mousse. Package of Jell-O, lemon or orange pineapple gelatin. Okay, I can see that because, you know, you have like orange chicken and like
Lemon
You can
chicken.
put lemon on top of a chicken. I can see that. Okay, so far, not bad. Salt, great. Chicken, good. Boiling chicken broth.
There it is.
Cayenne, vinegar, whipping cream, mayo, cooked chicken, diced, some finely chopped celery, and a pimento. Except for the whipping cream, it's not bad. Anyway,
Wow, that was a better reaction than I was expecting. What I mostly find confusing about it is that they call it chicken mousse, but the chicken doesn't get pureed. So it's like a chicken flavored mousse Jell-o with chunks of chicken and celery in it. So it still has some textural elements.
yeah,
I
that's
don't know if
because if
that
you
makes
say
it
what
better or
no, but it's because if you call it what you just called it, no one's gonna eat it. But if you say chicken mousse, maybe they'll eat it.
it's basically like chicken and celery suspended in like a chicken flavored mousse
Yeah.
Jell-o thing. But it does come in 3 variations. You want to read those too?
Yes, you can swap the chicken for ham, and also take the broth out as well. You can prepare the chicken mousse using boiling water instead of broth and 1 can of flaked salmon instead of chicken, and add some cucumber. You can also swap that for tuna because apparently people in the mid-century hated life. In the jars of Jell-o, they recommend serving this in a ring mold, and in the center, filling it with potato salad so that is a complete meal. And
Also, this is one of the rare, like, black and white pictures. Like, they decided that this was worth photographing, but not worth splurging for the color photo.
I wonder why.
I really wish. Do you think this looked better in color? There's no way, right?
No, I think it's probably like a weird tan color. And they're like, we put tan potato salad instead of tan Jell-o, and now we have no color, even though we have some tomato and lettuce leaves around it. So let's just use the color, the black and white film.
You're right. It's probably so beige.
Yes.
Well, one day I'll be brave enough to try one of these. I don't know. What do you think? Which of these, of all of the Jell-o recipes, you already said you're kind of a fan of
Yes.
the crown jewel dessert.
I think it looks great. I want to try it. I would probably do the chicken mousse.
Really?
Yes.
I honestly think like the chicken broth, that's what I was saying. I was like, I don't know if like 2 tablespoons of vinegar are going to make this taste like a savory thing, but I bet chicken broth would. Because that already has salt in it, unless you made it yourself.
we make our own chicken broth.
Mm-hmm.
So we have jars of it in the freezer because we make like 3 or 4 jars at once, and it's delicious, and it's already like so gelatinous with the collagen. So I feel like they would work, but also honestly, it feels like a great and easy meal prep. And I'm all about that.
That's true.
So what happened to Jell-o salads? So for one thing, dieting fashions changed. In the 70s and 80s, nutrition campaigns began to emphasize the importance of eliminating sugar. Savory Jell-o salads were replaced by tossed salads and a fad.
Just ignore that.
Right.
Apparently, there was also like a huge fad in the late 70s for sun-dried tomatoes. Like people were really into sun-dried tomatoes in the late 70s. I don't know why, but I had that in there and I was like, well, this isn't relevant. And then I took it out, but I guess I didn't take the whole sentence out.
It's all good. Women were entering the workforce in unprecedented numbers, and more women were heads of households. Convenience foods that were much more convenient than gelatin were readily available, and working mothers were quick to choose fast, microwave-friendly options. Jell-o pivoted and went back to marketing their products as snacks and desserts, and even adding sugar-free options to their product lines. Jell-o actually had a bit of a revival in the 80s after their marketing team decided to focus on young families. They dug into the recipe archives and rediscovered Jell-o Jigglers. Jigglers are Jell-o snacks molded into fun shapes and eaten as finger food. They launched a massive marketing campaign with Bill Cosby as spokesman. Jell-o Jigglers and Jell-o Pudding Pops pretty much saved the brand. But plain Jell-o and sweet Jell-o salads are still widely consumed in the US, especially in the rural Midwest and the Deep South.
Savory Jell-o salads do, however, remain popular in one particular community. Any guesses who?
No.
It's Mormons.
The mid-century people? Oh, okay. No, would not have guessed that.
So the history of Jell-o in Utah is actually really interesting. So in 1969, a New York Times article on Mormon foods didn't mention Jell-o at all. So it was not any more Mormon than any other food. But the Jell-o is for families angle in the late 70s was particularly popular among Mormon communities because they tended to have lots of children. So Jell-o rose in popularity in the 80s and 90s, and by 1997, Salt Lake City had the highest per capita sales of any U.S. city of Jell-o.
Huh.
But only 2 years later, Des Moines, Iowa beat out Salt Lake City for the number one spot, which was a very big deal because by then the popular association of Utah and Jell-o had solidified both inside and outside the state, and it actually became something of like state pride in Utah. They were really proud of being the number one consumers of Jell-o in the country, so there was a huge take back the title campaign. And in
Man.
2001, State Representative Leonard M. Blackham introduced State Resolution 5, which is, quote, resolution urging Jell-o recognition.
Because
and it
that's
passed
what we
with
need.
only 2 dissenting votes, and Jell-o became enshrined as the official state snack. And it's such a big deal that when they hosted the Winter Olympics in 2002, they sold collectible enamel pins that looked like bowls of Jell-o.
Okay. Y'all are weird.
I think it's adorable. But other like fun, more modern Jell-o things. If you also love Jell-o and you find yourself passing through upstate New York, you can visit the birthplace of Jell-o. We told you earlier to remember Leroy, New York, and that's because it's the location of the Jell-o Gallery, the official Jell-o museum.
Great.
The museum includes original advertising art, molds, collectibles, recipe books, and more. The Jell-o Gallery is open from the first Thursday in May to the last Sunday before Christmas, and admission's only $7 for adults, $2 for children, but children aged under 5 and under are free. And yes, they have a gift shop, and they ship nationally, and they have some cute stuff. Any final thoughts on Jell-o before we get into etiquette?
I'm curious to try some of these things.
I'm excited to hear all about it.
We'll see when it happens. Maybe I'll record it.
But anyway, now that we're caught up to the present, it is time for our etiquette segment. So, Gonzalo, what do we have today?
Okay, so I wanted something that was Jell-o related, but that was very niche for, I guess, etiquette. And so, since of course, sorry, let me redo that. And since a few weeks ago I tried to surprise Jackie with some Midcentury slang, hoping she would know it and failed miserably, today we are going back to a tried and true method, Amy Vanderbilt's complete book of etiquette, a guide to gracious living, specifically chapter 32, the guests at formal meals. I was thinking, what better thing to know if you're invited over for a Jell-o dinner than etiquette on how to behave as a guest at a formal meal, because of course Jell-o is a formal affair.
It sure was.
At least it will be from now on.
Yeah, and it was at the beginning. We can make it that way again.
There you go. So Amy starts us off by saying that the guests should know their etiquette because it is, quote, only the unknown that tends to shake our poise. First off, if the formal meal is served by a butler or waitress, the guests should know to lean left or right in order to know how to take their portions when dishes are offered. Basically, the staff should serve on the guest's left and remove on the right. So you should know this so that you can lean to the right when they're serving, making space on your left for the plate, and then lean to the left so they can reach over you to the table and remove from the right. A guest should also never assist. Unless asked to do so by the hostess, a guest should not assist in the service of anything at the table, including the Jell-o, while there are servants in attendance. He never stacks dishes nor hands an empty plate or glass to a servant, but permits these to be removed or replenished. It is bad manners for a guest to sit at a table, formal or otherwise, with a lit cigarette in hand. In a formal setting, he may find himself without a place to set the cigarette, especially if the hostess, quote, takes pride in her cuisine and does not set an ashtray at the place. And this would result in total embarrassment for the guest because they'll have to get up, take their cigarette elsewhere, or ask for an ashtray, which apparently is like the biggest faux pas in mid-century.
I like that. That makes sense.
Yeah. Regarding portions, a guest needs to take at least a little bit of everything that has been offered to him and make a pretense of eating it. So Jell-os that are weird, like the chicken mousse, must be tried. However, it is not necessary to eat every bit on one's plate, nor is it necessary to leave a little so as to not seem gluttonous. Regarding taking a second portion, these are not usually offered at formal affairs, but if offered, the guest should serve himself from the pro-offered dish or platter, even if other guests have abstained. So help yourself to more Jell-o, even if someone did not try it, which they should have because that was etiquette. The hostess will then either take some more or keep the guest to keep the guest company, or will have purposely eaten slowly in preparation for someone taking a second helping, and still has some on her plate. Just like, oh, that's nice. So they're not eating by themselves.
Yeah.
So Jackie, what do you think about these etiquette rules?
I like them.
What else do you think? Do you think we should approve these? I think
yes, I think we should approve them. I especially like the everyone also getting seconds or eating slow, so that if someone has seconds, no one's sitting there eating by themselves, like awkwardly, everyone staring at them while they finish their second helpings.
Yeah.
I like the idea of everybody just lingering around together so that people who want to eat more can without feeling embarrassed.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I like these a lot. So I say
All
we
right,
keep
so I say so too. So let's give them the stamp. And with that, it looks like the Jell-o mold has finally set. Thank you guys all for listening today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the show and tell a friend.
You can also follow us on YouTube and Instagram at MCL Podcast. Instagram is the best place to send us feedback and episode suggestions. Send us a DM anytime. And you can also contact us through the Send Us a Text Message feature in the show notes.
Yeah, so send us some fan mail. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Bye!
Thank you for listening to Midcentury Living. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at MCL Podcast. See you next Friday.